ring sling is basically just a long piece of fabric with 2 rings on the ends. To thread it, you want to kind of look at the shoulder and look and see how it fans out here. So with this particular ring sling, there is like a fold of fabric here that is sewn together, and then there's this part that opens up. This is going to cup your shoulder when we finally get it on. So you want to kind of know how that works when you go to thread it. So I'm going to follow down, I'm going to open up that fold, and I'm going to follow down that, these are called rails. The edges are sometimes called rails. We also just call them hems because that's what they are. So I'm going to follow that hem down to the bottom. I'm going to gather up that end, and then I'm going to check and make sure it's not twisted. And especially with this shoulder, with this fold, you want to make sure that it's open and that it's not twisted, because otherwise that can get you, that can really cause problems, and you'll think you don't like your ring sling, and it's actually just that your ring sling is twisted. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up through 2 rings, split, and I'm going to come down through 1, just like your belt in middle school. And then I'm going to stop right here. Yeah? Oh my God, gotcha. I hear ya. Your part's next. Just a second. So I'm going to do this here. I'm going to bring fabric up in between the 2 rings. I'm going to start on one side, grab that hem, walk this across, and make sure that that's not twisted or folded on top of itself. So then I'm just going to tug that right down through. And then now my ring sling is threaded. I like to wear, there's different ways that you can wear this shoulder. I like to wear it with the sewing on top. I like to have this nice smooth opening on my shoulder, but that's really a comfort issue. That is not a that's not a safety issue. So if you end up with it the other way, it's no problem at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take, I want to wear on this shoulder. I like to wear on this shoulder. So I am going to take my opposite arm. I'm going to go through the sling, and I'm going to come up and over my head, just like that. Just like that. All right. So now I have my sling on, and what you'll want to look for is you want to look and make sure that this back is nice and spread out, and that it's out on my shoulder. I've got this shoulder open here, and it's out on my shoulder. What I don't want to do is I don't want it up here like this. That's going to put a lot of pressure, a pinch point on my neck, and that's not going to be comfortable. So we're going to keep it spread out like that. We also don't want too much slack in the actual sling. A good way to test is just to kind of put your elbow in and tighten around your elbow. Babies are actually fairly small, surprisingly, so you don't really need a whole lot more than that right there. So, and if you have more than that, then you're working with like trying to take up slack and trying to hold the baby and trying to get the carrier around, and it can makes your life a lot more difficult than it needs to be. So now that I've got my sling all set up, I'm ready to grab my baby. So what I'm going to show you how to do today is a basic front carry in the ring sling. So I'm going to take baby, I'm going to put him up on my shoulder, the opposite shoulder that from my rings. I'm going to put him up like I'm going to burp him. And then I'm going to come up underneath the sling. I'm going to take my high five hand, come up underneath the sling, and I'm just going to guide his feet through the sling. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to leave this bunched up. And I'm going to give him a second and let him sit on this, this tube. And the reason why I do that, especially for new wearers, is to kind of get you that feel of what the seat, creating a seat feels like. Because it's a lot like sitting in a hammock. If you've ever sat in a hammock, then if you sit on the very edge of the hammock, your bum's right at the very edge, then all you have to do is shift your weight just a little bit and you can pop and fall right through or fall out of the hammock. If you're sitting back into the hammock, if your bum is below your knees, that fabric of the hammock is from knee to knee, then it's much, much harder to get up and out of that hammock. In fact, sometimes you kind of need two people to kind of pull you up and out. And you can see even now how he's trying to pop that seat and how he's having so much more of a difficult time doing that. So let them sit on that tube of fabric for a minute. Let them settle into that seated position. We're still going to create the seat in a minute, but that kind of gets it started and gets them into the positioning that we want them in. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up in here and I'm going to grab the top third of the sling and open it up. And I'm going to pull that up and over baby's back. Really nice and high. We want to have plenty of fabric to work with up here. So now you can see he's kind of popped that seat a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that hand, I'm going to come up in between me and baby, and I'm going to take the bottom third, and I'm going to pull it from one knee to the other knee, pulling fabric up in between me and baby. And I can check, I can feel with my hand, I can see that there is fabric between me and baby. Now, I don't over do the seat. I prefer not to come in from the top because I feel like what happens is that pulls the fabric up too high, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes creates actually slack in that bottom rail. If the seat is too deep, then you create slack in that bottom rail, and baby can wiggle that slack out and pop that seat as they're wearing. So I just pull from one knee to the other knee. I check, make sure that there's fabric tucked, and really what I'm looking for is this positioning. I want baby's bum in the sling. I don't want baby's bum sitting on the edge of the fabric. So right now he's got a nice deep seat, but it's not overextended. And then I'm going to find my bottom rail. This is the part that corresponds here, and I'm just going to tug a little bit and to take up any extra slack. But I really don't have a lot of slack because I took most of that out before, so that's good. I've got a little bit of slack through here, so I'm going to try to tighten up the middle third of the carrier. You want to pull back the way in the direction that the fabric came through, so the top rail goes through like this. And then the middle, you want to pull that way, and then the bottom kind of that way. So I've got this, just make sure that this stays out on your shoulder. And I've got a little bit of slack here, so I'm going to pull that around to the front so that it's easier to pull out. There we go. There we go, baby boy. There we go. And you can see him settle in. Now, he wouldn't let me snuggle him to my chest earlier, but you can kind of see that this is that same positioning that I would have if I had been holding him in my arms. You should be able to wrap your arms right around baby. It should feel natural, just as if you were carrying baby in your arms. If you don't feel like that, if you wrap your arms around the carrier and it feels significantly different than the way you would carry in arms, then there may be something going on. There may be an issue. You may want to take baby out and start again and see what's going on. To take baby out, all you do is loosen up. Just pull up on that top ring. I know you're getting sleepy. Give yourself some slack. Come in here. Pull baby right out. And you're good to go. So that is how to use your new ring sling. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to get in touch with us. Have a great day.